Hey y'all, what's good? I'm Sherrita Denise and I'm here with my girl Tézya, and we are the co-creators and co-hosts of a new podcast titled It's Organic Over Here. Hey Tézya, what's good?
Hey y'all. It is so awesome to finally sit down and have these conversations openly with Sherrita. So, we are definitely going to be organic and we're super excited to discuss health conscious and health journey decisions that we made over the years. And hopefully, we're able to provide some of the insight that we've taken on this journey and can listen to you all through our questions later on to see how you all feel about it as well.
Yeah, so this is our first official podcast episode, and we decided to just take this time out to give you an opportunity to get to know more about us, especially as it relates to like our wellness journeys and what brought us together and where we are now and why we are starting from this place. So, you want to take it from there, Tasha?
Sure. So, some of the reason that we decided to even come up with this outside of just pure excitement and wanting to connect with community is that we constantly had these conversations about what we were doing to stay healthy. We met in a space that was, health driven, and we were able to formulate a relationship based off of those journeys. So, our entire mission is really being able to lay out these convos, discuss what it looks like, and contextualize the reasons for why it is important to maintain the health journey. Hopefully, with your feedback and engagement, we're able to really grow this thing and remain organic in the way that we talk about it because it's not always easy.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not always easy. I know that you and I have our own unique journeys, but we've kind of positioned ourselves as advocates in the wellness space, particularly as it relates to women of color. I know for our community, we are more impacted than any other demographic in the US or in America, mainly because we suffer from like higher rates of obesity, higher rates of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and oftentimes resulting in death. And I know that there's like a lot of discussion and a lot of statistics around why we are more exposed to these illnesses. But at the core of it, I think it drives back to our diet and our lifestyle habits. So we are no stranger to that because we both of us have been through our own ups and downs as it relates to our health.
Yeah.
And we ultimately were faced with like making some serious lifestyle choices because we wanted to live and live better. And so we're going to talk more about those today.
Absolutely. So to kind of start us out, we thought it would be really cool to come along with some questions that you may be thinking about and, getting to know us a little bit better about how we even got to this point. So to kick it off, I would like you to answer this for me, Sharita, and of course I'll answer following. How did you get started with your health journey?
So my health journey started when I realized that number one, I had gotten a little overweight.
Okay.
A lot overweight. It wasn't a little bit, it was a lot overweight. And it seemed like it kind of happened overnight. So I wasn't so concerned with how I looked because I felt good in my own skin until I started having some health issues attached to it. So,
Mm,
when you gain a little extra weight, moving around is not as easy. So I was having some shortness of breath. I had like joint
yeah.
pains and achiness. I was tired all the time. Like I didn't have like high energy levels. And it kind of went from that to now having like these massive headaches to where they were like super debilitating. So once I started having like these headaches that were like impacting quality of life, like I had to cancel events. I wasn't able to show
Oh
up.
my goodness.
Yeah, they were really bad. And I would say maybe like over the span of like 6 months or so, maybe a little longer, they just got progressively worse. Till one day they led me to the doctor. And
Mm,
when I sat down with my doctor, she's looking at my chart and she sees my blood pressure. And she's like, let's talk about, what you ate for the day. Because at the time I was 34. So she's like, you're 34. There's no reason why your blood pressure should be where it is.
yeah.
And as I'm sitting there and I can barely even look at her because my vision is blurry, she's like, let's talk about what you ate for the day. And so we start with breakfast, and we go to lunch, and we go to dinner. And just let's just say at every meal, I had pork 3 ways.
Wow.
And I didn't think anything was wrong with it because that's how I typically ate. And so, she's talking to me. She's like, well, you just had pork like in every meal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I did. So from there, she wanted to prescribe medication I took it. Of course, I wasn't going to say I'm not going to take it, but I didn't take it. And I just went home and started
Mm.
doing some research on some diets that I had already learned about, through documentaries and stuff like that. And then once I decided, I settled on just wanting to go with like a meatless diet. And so I started eliminating
Mm.
pork and kind of went from there. So that's where my health journey started.
Interesting. So I have a question.
Hmm.
You said that you had pork three different ways, and your doctor's like, so you had pork. Like, we all know pork is bad. We know it's pretty salty, but was there anything specific that she mentioned? Or was this just kind of like this common understanding that you're overdoing it with a meat that we know is not like for the best for us?
It was a common understanding
Okay.
of what I was doing, which is I was doing the most. Like I was doing the absolute most. And that was my typical diet. So bacon for breakfast. I loved a good brisket sandwich or a sliced pork
Mm.
sandwich. So that for lunch. And then by dinner, I've got fried pork chops and rice and beans. And they cooked with meat too, with pork.
What
Like
kind of meat they have in them? Just asking.
ham hocks and
Ooh,
everything else that was in
to
it.
flavor it.
Yes,
Yeah.
to flavor it. So yeah, there was pork everywhere, and then on top of that, there's tons of butter in it. There's tons of salt in it, tons of accent. Like it just everything was like piling on top of one another, and nothing was good. Nothing was nutritional. It was just all bad. And so,
Yeah.
just having her hold that mirror up to me was, you know, that's what kind of tipped the scale for me, literally and figuratively.
Well, shout out to your doctor because I know, and we'll get to me in a second,
Yeah,
going in and out of the hospital, especially being a black woman, it is a little harder to have these conversations
yeah,
because it's like, well, this is all I know. This is
yeah,
all I've ever eaten. So
yeah.
you're telling me to remove everything I know. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that you had the courage to say, you know what, I was doing the most. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up. I think that that's really, really dope. That's
Thank
really
you.
dope. Yeah, for
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah. So, how did you get started with your health journey?
Ooh, so I was just speaking with someone at my job, and we had this discussion. It's so interesting. It's like my health is like always a discussion,
Yeah,
even now, not even bringing it up. Because there was a time where I was just like so happy to be alive that,
yeah.
hey, I have a kidney, I have a kidney, I have a kidney.
Aw,
Now it's just like I'm normal.
yeah,
But it's like God leads these different discussions anyway about health and activity.
yeah.
But to answer your original question, I ended up dealing with renal failure, and I had two positions: to be on dialysis forever or to get a kidney transplant. And
Mm,
so by the time I erupted to that point, I made a firm decision that although a kidney transplant is not a cure, it
mm,
is another, I would say, a lower maintenance version of being able to have to take care of myself because I had a brand new start.
yeah.
So that happened for me at the end of 2019. I was rushed to the ER, and I had already knew I had some health complications with having chronic kidney disease and high blood pressure, and I learned that at 25. But I want
Mm,
to say about 2 to 3 years later, things got more critical. And when I got to the ER, the nurse was like, "Thank God you got here when you did because you were going to have a stroke." And she was just kind of like, "You can't tell that your face is pale. I'm
mm.
black. I didn't. I don't know what a pale face looks like. At least at that time, I wasn't
Yeah,
even thinking about that." And then going into the next year, that's when the conversation kind of worsened with my health. And that decision to have a transplant went into full mission. So that
mm,
was tough because it was a global pandemic, but
yeah,
God is good. I
yeah.
had a friend that was able to, within 1 year, get me, give me her kidney,
Wow.
which I'm forever grateful for.
Yeah,
And I've been full steam ahead when it comes to my health and really taking care of myself.
yeah,
So, heart disease, kidney disease, and a host of other things led me to this health journey.
yeah, yeah. What did your journey look like from the point of realizing that you would need a transplant? Like, were there any changes that you had to make during that time period between realizing that you needed a transplant and actually receiving the transplant?
Mm. So like the nuts and bolts of that looks like trying to preserve. the type of care without having to go on dialysis with the kidney that I had,
Yeah.
because it was like 13%. Go back to the doctor and get some blood work, 11%. It's like, oh my goodness, am
And
I dying?
when you say percent, you mean like the amount of, or like the
Kidney
kidney
function.
function? Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
thank you for
No,
clarifying it
that's
with that.
okay.
So it was just going down, down, down. So it was like, well, what can I do to remain these dropping numbers? What can I do to keep it as heightened as best? And
Yeah.
that was really taking their diet seriously and eating foods that were not highly inflammatory, high in protein, and not high in potassium.
Mm,
Things that when you have kidney issues, your kidneys are supposed to naturally filter the blood of all waste.
hmm.
And when it's unable to do that, it's kind of like a toilet that's backed up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I stayed aligned with the doctor and the different things I can eat within having kidney disease to preserve and prevent that as much as possible.
Okay.
And I was able to sustain it while also maintaining certain medications and trying not to be stressed.
Yeah.
But those were the things that I utilized. And then afterwards, I went into full mission on what does life look like eating fully healthy without
Yeah.
having to have all of these different, very small diets, because you can only eat certain
Yeah.
food and it's super small. I said, let me just do it right forever. That way I never get to this point again.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So speaking of which, doing it right forever, what are some of your lifestyle habits like now?
So some of my lifestyle habits look like life centered and taking care of myself physically.
Hmm.
So I've really gotten into fitness in the last 3 to 4 years. It'll be 5 years that I've had my transplant, because I wanted to, like, as soon as they popped it in, I wanted to make sure that I was walking,
Yeah.
running, jumping. Like, there's so many different there are so many restrictions if you
Yeah.
don't take care of yourself after. So they really encourage for you to walk and just get back into life.
Hmm.
So I definitely decided that fitness would be something I wanted to do forever, as well as tracking my macros and micros in terms of what nutrition I'm getting from my food. So that
Hmm.
became really important as well.
What is your diet like now?
My diet is currently pescatarian, so a food based in protein, not with only beans and lentils, but seafood.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I still do eat some dairy, not all the time. I do better without dairy, but I just love cheese so darn much. But a life filled with veggies and sometime dairy and eggs.
Okay. So basically, like a vegetarian, but just with seafood.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
hmm
Cool.
And then my last point on another thing in terms of my habits. So I had fitness, counting and taking a look at my nutrients and minerals and all that I eat, and making sure it's real food. And then
Yeah.
agriculture, which to back up the real food, making sure that I became a part of the farming community,
Mhm.
which, previously I had a life in filmmaking, media, all things not outside, all
Mhm.
things not in dirt.
Yeah.
But it was a smooth transition for me. It felt like I should have been there the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I'm abandoning my comp space and my theater space, but life and land and me just makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
literally an earth sign, so I should have
Yeah.
been there the whole
Earth
time.
science major.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
What
Cool.
about you though?
So, my wellness habits now consist of, so I'll start with my diet. My diet, although I don't really like to label it anything, is traditionally referred to as like a plant based diet.
Right.
So, I eat pretty much anything that comes from a seed. So, fruits,
Yeah.
vegetables, nuts, beans, seeds, grains. I think that's pretty
hmm
much it. So I avoid all meat and animal byproducts. So um, eggs, dairy, cheese. I avoid those things. Avoid all meats, and I avoid seafood. I didn't start out that way. I started out as a pescatarian, actually, just like you, and
Okay.
then over time, I started stripping away like things here and there, and now I am where I am now. Seafood, I didn't give up. It was taken away from me.
Oh.
It was taken away from me. I'm still a little salty about it, but So I've been without seafood now since last summer.
Okay.
Yeah, last summer, towards the end of last summer. So, but yeah, up until then, I was what I would, I guess, someone refer to as a pesca vegan. So,
You did say that. Like when I met you, you were already kind of like on your way out, verbalizing, I don't think I'm going to keep eating seafood.
yeah, I was
And it didn't
already,
happen.
yeah, but it didn't happen by choice. So I guess I just kept putting it out
Yeah, yeah.
there. God was like, let me go ahead and help her out. This is what she really want. So,
Yes.
because I mean, at the top of the year, like I always set like these, goals or ideas for myself, especially like in wellness center. I always set those type of goals at the beginning of the year. So the goal was to remove seafood and just go straight
Mm,
plant based. But I was toying around with it like back and forth. I had kind of reduced it down to where I would only have seafood if I went out to dinner. So I wouldn't buy it to keep it at home and cook. And that's
yeah.
traditionally how I started everything. That's how I started with like the with eliminating dairy from my diet. So when I made that switch, I just started with not buying it at home anymore. And then when I would go out to eat, I would have it. The problem was, which now I think about it, that's probably what happened with seafood. The problem is after you don't have it for so long and you try to reintroduce it to your body rejects it.
Man.
So yeah, my body was not happy when I was trying to give it milk or cheese, especially cheese, because cheese is it. I could do without the eggs and the milk, but the cheese, I love cheese. So trying to
Mm,
go back to cheese after not having it in your system for a couple of months was hard. So I just ended up giving up dairy altogether. But yeah, so that's my diet, and I think one of the main things that sets I'm sorry, not a pescatarian, but plant based and vegan apart is that with plant based, we try to eat our foods as close to the natural state as possible. So
yeah.
I will I eat beans, but my beans come from dried beans, and it takes a little more time because I have to cook them. But I eat them that way as opposed to canned beans. And the same with like if I want to have I'm going to do air quotes, y'all can't see it, but quote unquote burger, instead of I won't say the brand name, but instead of a pre-made patty, I'll have like a fresh patty made with like vegetables and things like that that I can grill and cook up.
Mm,
So yeah, everything is pretty much as close to natural as possible. So the vegetables are fresh, straight out the ground, as opposed to from the can or frozen. So yeah, that's my diet. And then another one of my wellness habits would be herbalism. So I want to say about 2 years ago, yeah, a little over 2 years ago now, I started making the decision to eliminate any forms of like modern medicine from my household. So like even like
mm,
Tylenol, like for common headaches or allergies, which was a really, really big one for me in the fall of 2022. I had horrible fall allergies. And I just did not like the idea of having to rely on over the counter medication to treat something that I felt like herbalism could address. And so I started learning herbalism. I enrolled in herbalism school to teach myself how to heal and treat for common illnesses for myself and my children. And so I started
mm.
dibbling and dabbling in herbalism. So I am an avid tea drinker 3 times a day. I'm sitting here with a cup of my nighttime tea now. So
Yes.
herbalism is one of my wellness habits. And then also just living like an all natural, clean lifestyle as it relates to like the products I use in my body or like in our home. I try not to use harmful chemicals when I'm cleaning or like any of the, like the air fresheners. I try to naturally use like, natural products or even some food products to clean with like
Yes.
lemon and, baking soda and stuff like that. Um, and then as far as like my wellness routine for my body, like I try to avoid as many harmful chemicals as possible. So I use
Mm.
natural deodorant, natural cleaning, I'm sorry, natural like facial scrubs and facial cleansers or yeah, pretty much everything whole
You
and
know, all of that is so good, guys. It's so good because Sherrita has been in, and it seems like every month or two, she's like recharging the idea of evolving her health journey. And I'm saying that as a friend and co-host because that encourages you. Like a big encourage for me is community.
Yeah.
Like, I like to be around people who are doing what it is that I not only aspire to do, that I'm currently doing, because that
Yeah.
makes you want to stay healthy. It makes you want to stay fit or cook.
Yeah.
We always are talking about what she's cooking in the kitchen. And it's just very hygienic to cook for your family. It's very
Yeah.
hygienic to know exactly what's going into your food.
Yeah.
And it may sound like we're being funny, but like, that's not something that a lot of people are taking the time out or creating the space to do for themselves, which is
Yeah.
cook. So all you said was great, and it's
Thank you.
very just exciting to keep being a part of community with you.
Yeah, thank you, Tejas. Excited to be a
Yeah.
part of community with you too. You're gonna make me cry.
Absolutely. And we want y'all to be in community with us as
Yes,
well. So this is why we did this thing, because you can't just share, this stuff with each other. We need to be sharing it with
with
people that look
others.
like us, sound like us.
Hmm.
And we're not experts whatsoever,
No.
but what we do know, we want to share in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's something else that you shared that is something I won't say is entirely new, but I've definitely developed a deep passion for it here lately, and that is growing my own food. So being in the ag space also.
Yeah.
That started out, I would say, not at the beginning of my wellness journey, because at the beginning I was really just concerned about trying to lose this weight. That's all I
Mm.
cared about.
I'm laughing because I too I'm gonna call myself a big bag, former big bag. I'm not gonna call Sherrita that, but yes, I too stand in solidarity.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how do I get this weight off? How do I go from a size? I don't even want to say what size I was.
Is it in the teens? Okay, I'm done. I'm leaving it
Oh yeah,
alone.
it was well into the teens, girl. It was well into the teens,
Okay.
almost out of the teens. But that's
Okay.
a conversation.
Keep it
Yeah,
simple.
but yeah, I was just concerned about losing the weight. So everything that I did, I would say within that first year was geared towards how do I lose the weight and maintain the
Mm,
weight.
yeah.
It wasn't necessarily about being healthy altogether. I mean, losing the weight solved a great deal of the problems. It solved the blood pressure. It solved the onset of, diabetes. It solved
Right.
all of that. But I wasn't necessarily like making the healthiest decisions. Like I wasn't nourishing my body, I guess I should say. So I was just doing a lot of stripping away, but I wasn't being intentional about putting nutrients back in. So
Mm-hmm.
where I started with that journey is because when I first started, like, trying to quote unquote eat better, I I stopped eating meat, but I was still eating like other things that were like high in sugar or high in like sodium or high in carbs, like unhealthy carbs. And so I had like these last 15 pounds and I was like, I got to get these off. And I'm trying to figure out like ways to get them off. And so that's when I saw, well, you need to cut out sugars. And I loved lemonade, like lemonade and Kool-Aid were my go-tos. So I had
Wow.
to cut out the lemonade. I had to cut out the ginger ale and just go strictly to water, which was hard because I didn't like water before. Now that's pretty much,
Mm.
besides tea, that's all I drink is water and tea. But then I was like heavy on the sugar aid. I was heavy on when I had a salad. It was
Hold on, because you don't just say sugar aid and
oh.
keep going. When you say sugar aid, you're saying Kool Aid, but it was so sugary that you just take the cool off. It ain't even cool no more.
Yeah, it's sugar aid.
It's sugar aid. Okay,
It was
jeez.
sugar aid. Yeah, I was heavy on the sugar aid, heavy on the lemonade, heavy on ginger ale. And so I cut out all of those things. And then I also made just little tweaks like cutting out, like instead of doing, I switched over to cane sugar. So I made
Okay.
that one change. I switched over to eating like whole wheat bread or, multigrain breads as opposed to like the other way. Little tweaks like that started to help to like kickstart. Instead of having like, what's the salad dressing I used to love? Because, oh my
Is it
God,
ranch?
ranch, yes, girl, you couldn't tell me nothing about a
Ooh.
baby carrot dipping some ranch
They
with some
hate to see
cheese
you
cubes on the
coming.
side. That was like my go-to snack. Like I actually got pictures. It's probably still some of my IG
Hold on.
where
So you were the type of person that was taking pictures of your food?
I still take pictures of my food.
You do. But I'm talking
Yeah.
about you were taking the big bag meals. You were taking pictures of the big bag meals.
Tasha, go just scroll back on the page. I
Okay,
haven't deleted
okay.
that. Just scroll back. You'll see.
Yes, I
Just
love
scroll
that you
back.
kicked that too.
Yeah, the
Yes.
fried chicken, the oxtails, the prime rib, the
Mm.
collard greens, the macaroni. Yeah, it's all on there. But no, but
Yeah.
my snack, my go-to snack, and I was like, oh, this is healthy right here. You can't tell me nothing. But it was a big change from Cheez-Its and sour cream and onion chips. Like big change. But I went from those snacks over to cheese. Like I love dice, the little cheese cubes. Love
Mm-hmm.
those pretzels, carrot, the baby carrots, and ranch dressing. Like that was my go-to snack. And so when I started looking at like all the calories and stuff that was in them, I was like, well, I might as well should have just ate the chips and the cheeses because it's the same.
Yeah.
So I threw that stuff out, and then that's when the last 10, 15 pounds just kind of peeled off. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
bet. So then once I hit there, like I said, I had stripped like all this food away, and I didn't have anything to eat because I only had about three good vegetables in my bag that I would eat, and maybe a couple fruits. So pineapples and strawberries, those are my go-to fruits. Every now and then I have orange or grapefruit, but yeah, that was pretty much it. And then as far as vegetables, green beans, collard greens, cabbage, maybe some romaine lettuce. That was pretty much it. And so I
Mhm.
stripped all this away. Now I've got to start, replenishing what I'm taking away or whatever. So with that being said, I started trying to experiment more, eat more vegetables, try more fruits and things. And so I'm in the store and I'm trying to find a fruit that I wanted to use to make something with. And the guy was saying to me, he was like, "Oh, I was looking for cranberries." And he was like, "Well, cranberries aren't in season." And so I was like, "Okay, what you mean
Mm.
by not in season?" So he's explaining to me, well, they only, grow and harvest at a certain time of year, and it's, during the fall time. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I go look up what he's talking about. And so I start learning all about like growing seasons and what grows when, which wasn't a foreign concept to me because I grew up with my grandmothers that, grew food and or went to farmers markets and things and bought food directly from farmers. So it wasn't foreign to me, but it just wasn't something I had heard in a really long time.
Right.
So hearing him or him bringing that back to me brought me full circle, and I was like, okay, now I need to go out to a farm and figure out what they're doing out here and how I can recreate it
Yeah.
at home. And so from there, that's when I was introduced to urban farming. And so I started just like, how we do together now. I started with
Yeah.
volunteering in the community at urban farms and just learning more about the growing process and how it benefits the communities around them. And from there, I took the passion back home and started trying to grow my own food. So that was a little over 2 years ago now that I started that process.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. It's always good to grow your own. I think that that's something else that we're going to be discussing. Not think I know we're going to be discussing throughout this process is our own growing processes at home,
Mm-hmm.
our own babies. I call it because
Yeah.
prior to this, I hadn't grown nothing by myself,
Yeah.
completely by myself. I had
Yeah.
someone looking over my shoulder or just being in the same space to observe. But it's been really gratifying to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, end of December, I think it was.
And in December for you, first week of January for me.
Right. Okay. So Tézya and I started our own balcony gardens. And so we started talking about it like around November, December time. We have been passionate about growing, and I tried growing a couple summers ago, and it was a fail because the squirrels just took over the garden. This is when I was in Florida, and the squirrels wouldn't let me be great. So I just had to
Yeah.
scrap the whole garden thing. And once I relocated here, I kind of was peeping and seeing. I was like, they don't really have squirrels here, like.
Oh, they got squirrels.
But see, I don't run across them.
That's a blessing.
That's a blessing.
They are deep here, like, and they're feisty too.
That's how they are in Florida. But here, I just, I hadn't seen any. So I was like, all right, I think it might be safe to plant here. They're not going to bother them. So
Yeah.
I think we started getting like really motivated to go ahead and start growing towards the end of last year because of all the recalls that were happening. And
Yeah.
because we eat a great deal of the foods that were being recalled, it was kind of like, you know what? The best alternative here, other than shopping at local, from local farmers or local growers, is to try to grow some of our own foods. So we sat down and we talked about it together. We did research, we read books, we watched videos, and we put together a plan. What all the everything that we needed to get started. We bought it all up. We went shopping together,
Yeah.
shut the store down. I know people were sick of us. And then we came home and we got started within a couple of weeks. So I started December 29th, and I started with a raised garden bed. So it almost looks like, imagine like a baby crib, like it's, lifted up off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget how deep it is, but it's pretty deep. So I started with, all of mine started from seed, and I started growing red onions, radish, rainbow chard, kale, parsley, basil, and I started a broccoli plant in a separate pile.
Mm.
And so, however many weeks later, a couple months later now, they've gone through like everything from winter storms, literally, through snowstorms to hot days. Like I think this week we're going to be almost in the 90s. They've
Wow.
gone through everything and they have survived. And one thing I can say, a couple things I can say, is that this has been one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had, to start something from a seed and to watch them grow, and to be able to partner with God in that, and me planting a seed, giving it the proper soil, and giving it water, and then he providing the sunlight and the wind and the rain and everything that's needed to help it to continue to grow, is like insane to me. Like I walk out there sometime and I'm amazed to see how, they started off like the radish was like a micro seed, and now it's like these humongous plants with these bulbs like bulging up on the ground. It's nuts to watch, and I get
Yeah.
overwhelmed every time. But it definitely wasn't an easy journey, because there was a couple times I was ready to tap out and just say,
Mm.
forget this, and flip the whole thing, because there were some that just weren't growing and I didn't have the patience. But thankfully, I would call Tézya when I was about to scrap it, and I'm like, yeah, it's not growing, so I'm gonna just dig it up and start over. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, be patient. It's coming. So if anything I learned during this process is to be patient and trust the process. And it's been cool. So what about you, Tasha? What are you growing and how's it going?
Well, ironically, I am dealing with having to be patient and my plants be patient on me as well. Because it's time for a transplant into
Mm,
larger containers, but I think I'm ready for a bed. So I know the emergency call is to get into something bigger.
yeah.
But before I go into all of that, what I'm currently growing is, let's see, we got mustard greens, collard greens, green onion, garlic. I have a potato sprouting so that I can propagate it and grow it into its own container,
Mm,
and marigold flowers. I did have onions. The onions didn't survive. I tried the best I could, but
mm,
it just didn't survive. So
yeah.
I'm going to start that over when I decide to reseed some more plants. But right now, I got a house full of kids, and I'm calling my plants. I need to manage these babies before
Oh,
trying to, cultivate a new seedling
yeah,
of onions or whatever else. So that's pretty much been my growing experience. Is I'm learning. This is my first time growing completely on my own without any supervision outside of Sherrita and maybe a few farmer friends here and there.
yeah.
But in Chat GPT, shout out to Chat GPT,
Hey.
auntie, uncle, Chat GPT, and just also listening to the plan by watching it and seeing what it needs to grow too. Because
Now
that's
that was a huge one that I had to adopt to, because I would go out some mornings, because I check on it every morning, like these are my kids. So I
yeah,
go out here and I'm like, all right, what's going on with you? And I would see stuff happening with the soil, and I'm like, what is going on? Or maybe one seems to be growing faster than the other one, or like there's something, like it seemed like every day something new was happening. And
okay,
so I had to learn, like, just by looking at it, okay, is this too dry, or am I overwatering it? And so I had to like keep adjusting. And that was like a learning process, because you got to really listen to what they're trying to tell you.
yes,
So
they're talking to us.
yeah, they're talking and they're living and they're breathing organisms. So, just going out there and observing and watching and learning, that definitely was a process. And then, like you said, with like Chat GPT, There
Yeah.
were a couple of times where it was some stuff going on with the soil, and I was like, "How do I fix this?" Like I was ready to.
Yeah.
It was like several times I was ready to just scrap it. I'm like, "All right, let's just start over. We'll flip it. We're good. I got
Yeah.
more soil. We can go get. I got plenty of seeds." So, but I'm glad I didn't because everything literally has grown. Like the kale is ready to harvest.
Come on, Harvest.
Yeah, the radish, I can harvest them now, but I want to give them at least probably about another week. The baby chard I call them baby chard, but they're not really baby chard, but they grew to like door size. So I think they need like a larger space to grow
Mm.
in. But the parsley ready to harvest, I can just go out there and cut some up and then bring it inside, rinse it off, and chop it up and throw it in some food. The broccoli is the only thing that still needs like some more time, but it takes a while, to produce a head of
Right.
broccoli. But yeah, like getting on Chat GPT and learning like some of the concoctions, for like to remedy some of the things that we were seeing like with the soil or whatever.
Hmm.
Just figuring out all natural organic ways to do that was interesting because it's like simple stuff in the kitchen, like vinegar or distilled water or using baking soda and mixing it up and just spraying it on there and it cured whatever issue we had. So learning how to naturally treat and care for our plants without the use of harmful chemicals has been important and a big learning lesson. So shout out to ChatGPT for that.
Yes, ChatGPT is the cousin I never knew, I never had. Like it's just big brother, big sister. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
So, what do you think is next as far as like you're growing? Have you started thinking about if you want to seed anything for like late spring, summer?
Well, for me right now, I'm just focused on making sure that everything that I have gets a fair chance.
Mm,
So life is just full of transitions, and within like the last month and a half, I've had some different things that I'm doing and working on. So I don't want to split the time too thinly with those other things which I have,
yeah,
and taking the attention off of my plants. With that being stated, I don't really have plans for any seeds right now. I
yeah,
want to kind of get this space for them to grow a little bit larger and
yeah,
bigger and spread out its roots.
yeah,
And then once I get that handled, I'll invite some more friends.
yeah,
What
yeah.
about you?
Same. I don't have any intention, I think, to plant for the summer just yet. So
Really?
I would like to dibble and dabble with the tomatoes.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the tomatoes I do, but I haven't decided yet. But I still have time to decide on tomatoes. I don't think it's quite
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
got time. I mean,
yeah,
since we're speaking about the summer, not to flip too hard, but I'm gonna ask you about this fitness because I became a gym rat
yeah,
some way somehow. I mean, for me, it wasn't falling in love with fitness. It was like, okay, this has to happen because it's not like I just want to lose weight. Like the
yeah.
last time I didn't want to lose weight, I wanted to
Mm.
be fit. That was like specifically
Ah,
important to me
yeah.
that I was functional, muscle wise, functional, speed wise. Like if a Ninja Turtle came in, I can go back and forth. I
That's
can
so unique because that idea never crossed my mind.
I mean, I had the weight loss journey for me just wasn't successful, and at some point it became not inspirational because it was like, well, I know I can lose the weight,
Yeah.
but then I would gain it back because I got my goal. But with fitness, it was
Ah,
much more concrete. It was like, in order for you to be fit, you have to do specific things in order to maintain that.
okay.
And for me, that looked like lifting. That wasn't something I typically would do. I would just go and walk away the fat. And I would have sometimes what you call skinny fat because I'm still super flabby and my arms are not fit, my
Mm-hmm.
legs are not fit. And it was like cool just for like pictures. It was cool for just like for the sake of saying I lost a little weight.
Yeah.
But I wanted the extra mile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know when I see you, because you post every time, I like when you put in your stories like clock in, clock out. It's like you punching the clock.
Yes.
Like when I see you, I'm inspired because I can
Okay.
honestly say that fitness, I had a mind one year that I wanted to be fit. Like this was after I had lost the weight. And I was like, okay, now I want to tone this up. Because just like you say, like you kind of have like the skin and you want to tighten things up a bit. And I did that. This was a couple years ago. I call it my crop top summer because I had
Ooh.
abs and I had a crop top on everywhere I went because that's the
Okay.
first time I ever had abs, and I was like, y'all gonna see these abs.
Okay. We're
So
gonna get these
I
abs.
work, yeah, y'all gonna get these abs. I work for this. So I did that for like a summer and even a springtime, and then I fell off. I want to say last year is when I fell off. Just trying
Mm.
to be fit. I do in my wellness journey, however, or my wellness habits and my lifestyle, I do incorporate like physical activity. So I try to get a couple miles in a day of just walking and being active, but nothing rigorous, nothing like what you're doing. Like when I see you up here on these machines, I don't even know what to call them. I'm like, how does she know what to do when she get on there? Because I just walk in the gym and I'm lost, so I just don't go. And it's one like 2 steps from my front door. I just don't go.
Hmm.
Actually, there's two of them. And I just don't
Oh,
go.
well, like the thing is just to keep going, like just to keep going, keep showing up, and every time you go, you get better. And then once you've gotten that down really good, then you try something else.
Yeah,
And then some stuff is intimidating, but it's like, why? What else to aspire to do than to try it?
yeah.
Because I did it with other exercises, I did it with other equipment, I did it at another gym. Let me see
Mhm.
what it looks like now. So me and Sherrita have been having this conversation about her getting back in the gym. I'm not that person to force anybody on a health journey. Now, contrary to popular belief, because we do have a podcast, I am not out here forcing anybody to go on a health journey.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like organic as the show is as organic as that conversation has to happen
yeah,
when I talk to people, because I don't want them to feel like I'm trying to force them into anything.
yeah.
But she said,
What?
I ain't
Oh
say
my
it. She
god.
said that she was going
Oh no.
to do some fitness activity moving forward. In fact, and I know we had some technical
You really be
difficulties. Did you
calling
do
it
it
out.
today? Because what I
You
had
know
to know, what I had to know,
what? Oh, listen, after them technical difficulties earlier, I wasn't doing the workout.
I just want to see.
I
But you see,
wasn't.
I don't forget.
You don't forget. So basically, what Tézya is talking about is this was back in October, November, sometime. We having one of our girl chats, and I'm
Yeah.
up here complaining about I've been trying to tone, and I just don't know what to do, and da-da-da-da-da. And Tézya, being who she is, was like, "I got you. I'll come up with a set of repetitions for you." And she did. She wrote them out. Very simple. I think we even talked about ones that I felt comfortable doing and I didn't feel comfortable doing. She put together a whole plan for me. I think I might have done 2 days of it. And she never brought it up again until now.
Yeah. And then we
So,
talked about reactivated. We
so
talked about
since
reactivating
I
it
didn't
today.
get to start today, and I don't even like to say tomorrow, but it's kind of late. So, since I didn't get to start today, I'll start tomorrow. And I actually send it to you. I'll post it and I'll
Okay.
tell you. Oh, Lord, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, hey, I'm not gonna push it on you.
Okay.
You'll never hear me bring it up again.
But so to be fair now, the exercises that you send to me, they don't require me to go to the gym, right?
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
Cause
So I have
you
a
can do
mat at
30
home.
minutes on your own. You can go and
Absolutely.
walk. And
Yeah.
yeah, guys, while we're talking about it, we're already challenging people on the first episode. Please,
Yeah.
30 minutes a day,
That's it.
every day, Sundays
Yeah.
included. The
Yeah.
Lord didn't rest, so neither can you.
Hmm.
Get on the
And he
track or a
actually did
treadmill.
rest.
He did rest, but you know what
He
I'm trying to
rested.
say.
So, but you make a good point, and it's I know it may seem I know at least for me in the beginning when I was trying because I think when I realized I was getting a little too a little heavier than I would like. I
Yeah.
started with trying to exercise, and it seemed like the hardest thing to do to take a walk in the afternoon, like because you worked all day, you taking
Right.
care of household, personal, responsibilities, and you're trying to. It feels more like a chore than like it should be like a part of like
Mm.
your everyday life. So it wasn't until oh my goodness, at least like a year or so after that, so almost 2 years after that, that physical activity became a regular activity in my life or like a regular part of my day. I used to be a gym rat. I used to get up. I didn't care. It would be like freezing cold outside, and I was up at
Yeah.
like 5 a.m. going to the gym every morning, and that's when my abs started to come in. Once I got out of that, I didn't stop with physical activity. I would do just like what you say, just get a walk in. So even if that was like on my lunch break, like I would trade in like my hour lunch break. I would take 30 minutes of that lunch break to eat, and then
Mhm.
the next 30 minutes I was outside walking around the compound at the office. So that's how I got my 30 minutes in a day. But you're right. Just start with something simple like a walk.
Yeah, we already do that, and then we're gonna, very organically have conversations and tips and tricks on how to maintain not just walking but lifting. I know that's another thing that we as ladies don't think about because
Yeah.
I'm gonna look bulky. No way, no how are you
Yeah.
gonna be imaginably as bulky as you assume by just simply lifting.
Yeah.
That's how you stay strong, and actually, that's how you live longer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
muscle.
you are very disciplined and diligent in your fitness journey.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Question: how do you maintain that? Are there days where you don't feel like it, but you still show up, or are there days where you like, I'm just not going today. I don't have it in me to do it. Like, what does that look like for you?
Oh wow. So discipline is definitely necessary and there are more days that I don't want to go than there are days that I want to go. It is not tied to anything negative. It's just like I just don't feel like going, but I
Yeah,
still get clothes on and I go and I
yeah,
try to look good and feel good, especially as my body is starting to morph into like it's a whole nother woman. I don't know how to explain it because
yeah,
I'm the same person to my core, but I
yeah,
don't think I've been this fit since like a little girl.
yeah,
So I play dress up in fitness wear, but I'm really dressing like this because this is who I am now.
yeah.
And I smell good for myself. So I'm making sure I spray down myself
Wait a
so I
minute.
can smell me. And
Wait a
then,
minute. Run that back. You try to look good for what? Like when you going to the gym?
yes, I look good for me.
Girl,
I don't
see,
have I don't have the coochie cutters. I hate to say that term, but I don't have it all in where you can see everything. I have a nice shape as it is, so I'm
yeah.
not,
But you make sure that
trying to.
you go to the gym like you having something cute that you like that you feel good in.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
See, I just show up with a hoodie on.
You show up like you just got out of a bad relationship and you about to kill yourself.
Oh my gosh,
That is
Tézya.
different stages of being in fitness, and I've seen that. You like, yeah, he going through it. Hopefully,
Oh,
he don't text her, call her after because he going to have to come back.
oh no. So that's how I show up looking. Like seriously, like hair in a bun with the hoodie on, more than likely some oversized pants. Or maybe some leggings. I don't know, it depends. But I'm gonna have a hoodie on.
I have my days. I don't
Yeah.
always have days where, well, you know what? Even my dress down is starting to look better, at least for me.
Yeah.
Even if it is like a hoodie, it's like the hoodie that's fitted to my body. Like I
Oh,
don't
I see.
necessarily need like the cloth hoodie, but I wouldn't mind. Like if
Yeah,
it's
I'm in there with a
cold,
2X hoodie on.
if it's cold, I'm in there. I'm just in there. Like you
Yeah.
said that I posted my IG story, clock
Clocking
in,
in.
clock out.
Yeah.
I'm in here, you know what I'm trying to do, you know what I'm trying to achieve, but I showed up, which is half of it.
Yeah.
But getting dressed, having fire playlists,
Hmm.
if it's too bad, sometimes I go back and look at old girl. That's me. Old girl,
Really? You do
yeah,
that?
I definitely do. Like it's
Wow.
encouraging sometimes to see my own journey because
Wow.
I thank who I was because if she didn't have the courage, if I had to
Yeah.
separate and make us two separate people, she had the
Yeah.
courage to start this thing. So I'll never be shaming who I
Hmm.
was because that version of me said, "Hey, you need to do something about it permanently."
Yeah.
So I'm forever grateful for who I was at that time.
Wow.
But I spontaneously am like saying, I got you.
Yeah.
You know, you had me to get here and I got you to never go back there.
Wow.
So there are days where I look at the before picture and I try not to obsess because
Yeah.
that's not the pressing point. It's not to be fat anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
how was I, being fat was a part of it, but it wasn't all of it.
Yeah.
It was also just like my mindset, the way I dealt with people, the way I dealt with myself, the way I dealt with my faith. I
Hmm.
don't want to go back
Go back
there
there.
because I know a lot of the eating habits and the lifestyle I possess
Stemmed from all of that.
stems from that.
Yeah.
So, if I
Hmm.
have days where I need motivation, which most of your days are not going to be motivational,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking about to keep that discipline going.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome, Tasia. I never thought to do that, like to go back and look and be like, all right, girl, let's get it together. I need to tap into what you had
Yeah.
at that time to make these changes. I never thought about that. But
It was dark. I think that that's the other part. It was
yeah.
like, Eminem, you better lose yourself in the most. I'm telling you, that's why I say the hoodie era is a thing. And the hoodie
Yeah.
era doesn't look the same for everybody, but
Yeah.
I did not start my fitness journey because I was happy with how my life was going.
Yeah.
I started it because I knew that there were things that I needed to do immediately
Yeah.
and maintain and build and grow. So
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Now I'm inspired. Now I'm going to start doing that.
you better. And if she doesn't, y'all, we're gonna be coming back in a month. If she
Oh, my
does
God.
it, everybody get in the comment section and say, Sherrita go, fitness go.
Oh.
Hashtag Sherrita fitness.
I'm going to do it starting tomorrow morning. I promise you I'm going to do it. I promise. I'm going to get started. So I have days where, forget days, I've had spans of weeks where I'll say like not motivated or uninspired. So like
Mm,
food is to me what fitness is to you. So
gotcha.
cooking is like my clock in and clock out. Like that's
Yes,
my passion.
ma'am.
And as much as I share or as excited as I am, like when you hear me cooking and stuff, there are times where I feel uninspired and I feel unmotivated, not just to cook, because I love cooking. I just feel uninspired by food in general. And
Yeah.
I will eat just because I know I have to eat something. Like I can't go without
I
eating.
have a lot of those days. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I may just go in there and throw something together because I am like really intentional, or I try to be really intentional about what I eat because, I have to get nutrients. So I'm going to make sure the plate is, colorful. I'm going to make sure I have a vegetable, a grain, or, a fruit. I make sure that's always included or incorporated. So I'll make sure I do that. But it might be something as simple as just steaming some broccoli and cooking some brown rice and having a
Mm.
salad on the side and I'm out of here. Like I don't do nothing fancy. And then it's gonna be some days where I'm in there and I'm going for 2, 3 hours trying to
That's
cook
most
something.
days how I see it. When I'm talking to you, you are always cooking up something delightful, scrumptious. Bring me a plate. I've yet to receive it, but it
you know,
looks so good, y'all.
thank you. Well, remember last year it wasn't like that. Like I would say maybe about what was that? Maybe about November, December. I was
Mm,
uninspired. Like I didn't care about cooking. I was like, I'm tired of cooking. I'm tired of food. Like, what can I eat? And it took me a minute to figure out like where it was stemming from. And I think
mm.
with the way that things were kind of taking a turn with our food system, not that they were taking a turn, the way it was now being highlighted so much,
Yeah,
and it was creating a lot of anxiety with me when I would like shop because I'm so cautious and particular about everything that I'm eating or anything I'm bringing in the house and where it came from, who handled it, and it was
right,
just overwhelming just trying to figure that stuff out. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick to the same stuff. Even if it's just this, broccoli, I know where I get it from. I can get from here. I know it's clean. I know it's safe. I know it's healthy. And that's what I'm going to do. So I think I went through like that phase where I just was uninspired by food. I didn't care. I just needed to eat, and I didn't care about cooking anything. Um, the I think the beauty in things now is that even when it does get like overwhelming or I get uninspired and unmotivated, I've situated my lifestyle in such a way that there's no really escaping it. So
yeah,
I get what I like to call like a dopamine hit anytime I do something like that. Anytime I cook or anytime I go on a walk or anytime
mm,
I, grow food. Like anything that my life is situated so much in a way now where there's wellness activities and wellness habits like built into everything that I do. So I may have days where I like kind of get, unmotivated or uninspired, but it's kind of hard to fall off the wagon or go back because I don't even know what going back looks like at this point.
I know what it looks like because I see, a lot of our community is so deeply rooted in tied to it. But I just know that I could never. Like you said, I wouldn't even know where to get started. I
Yeah,
mean, I guess stopping at like a fast food restaurant. The fact that I'm farly removed is a blessing. So
yeah,
I'm sure with some of the tips that we can give them throughout this process, they'll be able to also kind of see how we were able to unplug this chain or
Yeah,
undo this chain of the food system and just overall fitness and
yeah.
health awareness.
Yeah. So with that, like what would be like your top two, your top three tips that you would give to someone who may be new to trying to start a wellness journey, or maybe they're already on it and they're getting to points like where we hit along the way, like where we might stall out or become, unmotivated. Like what would you say to someone who needs help in those areas?
I would simply say just get started, and it doesn't have to be aggressive. It just needs to be like you put in on the gym clothes, you finally get in the membership, you finally getting in that kitchen and cooking your own food.
Yeah,
If you're a grower, you finally buying the seeds and getting the seedling tray and just starting. And
yeah,
once you get started, that really is like half of the journey.
yeah,
Everything else will be about maintaining and managing. But if you don't know your level of weakness, then it's really hard to build your strength.
yeah,
So once you get started in whatever it is that is bringing about that wellness journey,
yeah,
it's hard not to see results and not want to keep going.
yeah,
Like you said with your plants and my plants as well. Like when you wake up one day and you see that it's a little seedling
yeah.
and it's its own little plants and it's
This
like
year.
reaching to the sky. It's like, okay, what else you
Right,
want? You want some water?
right. What you want, baby? I got
You
you.
need some sun?
Like, what can mama do for you today?
Do I need to buy some more fertilizer? What is it that I need to
Right.
keep doing to encourage this start? Because it
Yeah.
just makes you want to keep going. So
Yeah.
I
It's a
feel like
dopamine
it's a
hit. Like,
dopamine
yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
That body hit different. The food hits different when you
Yeah.
cook it. The food hits different when you're
Hmm.
eating real food. Like you
Yeah.
feel the transformation.
Yeah.
But how will you know if you never get started? So
Yeah.
that's my number one tip, and I think that that's the tip that leads to everything else.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I really think about it.
Yeah. I would say that's definitely number one for me too. And then just to piggyback on it, I would say to start small. So like
Yeah.
I know where we are now, it seems like we're talking about like a broad spectrum of things that we do that include, like wellness habits and lifestyle habits or changes that we made. But we didn't start there. It started for me as simple as, and it sounds simple, but trust me, it was anything but simple.
Yeah.
But just focusing on one area. And my area was just eliminating certain stuff. Now, I don't always recommend just eliminating things without replacing it, but that's the route that I went. But I started really
Mm.
small and focused in one area. So it was just eliminating pork in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Another thing when I was talking about earlier was like, I love Sugar Aid, I loved Kool-Aid, I love lemonade, and I could not stand water. Like the taste of water was disgusting
Wow.
to me. And so I went from, loathing water to loving water in like about a year. But it was not like an overnight thing. It wasn't like I just fixed my mind to say I'm going to drink more water. I had to be really, really intentional about it and focus on that one area. So I
Right.
know my old coworkers, they probably, not probably, they did laugh at me in the beginning because I would not just pack a lunchbox for work, I would pack a water box for lunch because I needed to drink more water. And so I would come in
Yeah.
with like a jug of spring water and I had mint and lemons. And then during this transition, I was also starting to drink tea. So I took a tea kettle to work and I had it like right in the little office with me. And I had my lemon portioned out, my honey portioned out, my herbs for my tea, and I was pouring up fresh water, drinking, and replenishing and drinking water all day. But I had to situate my life in such a way where it was always there so that I wouldn't revert back. Because if I didn't have water or tea there to drink with me when I was thirsty, I was going to go out to the vending machine and I was going to get the
Mm.
lemonade or I was going to get the ginger ale. And so once I got into the habit of just creating a space for a healthy habit, that really helped to change because sometimes you have to take it a step further than
Yeah.
just the thought to want to do better. You got to create space for it, and sometimes in the home that's not always easy if you have others in the home who might not eat it, but you have to find ways to make it like exciting for you. So in the beginning I had to do infused waters because I didn't like water, so I was putting strawberries, cucumbers, mint, lemon,
Mm.
like everything in the water. Now I don't care to have none of that stuff in the water. And I just drink the water, how it is. But I would say just starting small and creating a space for wellness, creating an atmosphere around you so that you do succeed. Because, if you what's the saying? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right,
You got to
right.
be intentional about, the decisions or the choices or the lifestyle changes that you're trying to make. So those would be my tips.
Absolutely. That's good. I back that. And I don't have to say anything else because you said it all. Intentionality behind having that space is important. You got to have that because, our environments are not always encouraging. So you
Yeah.
have to be the foot forward in this stuff for sure.
Yeah. And sometimes it's okay to lead the change also within your families.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I think we get so concerned with, you know, neither one of us, I don't think either one of us are the type to really force our lifestyles on others.
Right.
But a change like in, incorporating more water into our diets, I don't think that that's, something that can be frowned upon or should be frowned upon in a family. So thankfully my children love water. They drank
Mhm.
more water than I did. So when I just started keeping more water and less lemonade in the house, they were like, okay, bet. Or I stopped
What
the
a
Kool Aid.
blessing.
I don't think I heard any pushback from, you know, Kool Aid to no Kool Aid. I don't think they said
So,
a word. They
so
was
they
like,
still drank the Kool Aid, but you was the one who was probably like the bigger fan of it.
no, no,
Really?
no.
Okay.
Oh, you're saying like with it being in the house, they would drink it because it was there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But you would see them go get a bottle of water, and meanwhile, I wouldn't drink water for months.
Oh my gosh.
I'm talking like ever. I can't even believe that was life.
Well, we not judging. What they say on the internet, we listen and we don't judge. We not
That look you just
judging.
gave me is like you judging me like Sherrita.
You see, and I created that space of silence
You
because I
did.
really wanted it to hit.
I'm like, yeah,
Like,
like ever.
no, no, I'm sure a lot
Yeah.
of our listeners are dealing with some of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was big back in everything else, but I did have a healthy water journey
Yeah.
that I developed when I did track and field events as a middle schooler.
Mm,
And thankfully, I married somebody who's also water gang. So
good.
we always drank water. It was
Yeah.
other activities, big back activities that we needed to crunch down on, but
Yeah.
you know, water is just not advertised as something that's good, and enough people don't drink it, and around enough people. So those small little changes, like you said, definitely
Yeah.
incorporate something to other people.
Yeah. And starting with water is big because water flushes. And so just cutting out sugary drinks alone and replacing it with water, that made like a huge difference in a matter of like
Mm,
days, or even a week. Like I could see the difference in how my body felt, how I was retaining water, even weight loss in just a week of no Kool Aid, no, no soda, no nothing, just water. It made like a huge difference. So yeah, starting small, no matter what anybody tells you, starting small helps. It works.
absolutely. Step
Yeah.
one, step two, start and then start small. You
Yep.
want to build as you keep going.
Yep. And then step three, be intentional.
Be intentional.
Yep.
There we go. There we
Yeah,
go. Some
be
good steps.
intentional. Yeah. So, I always have this thing where I'm always like, I got questions.
Yes. What's your questions, man?
I always got questions. So
Hmm.
we want to do because I'm inquisitive by nature, and so sometimes I'll probably ask more questions. Because I'm gonna follow up. Like I need to understand better. Help me understand better. That's why I ask questions the way that I do.
Hmm.
So anyway, we want you all to be able to understand better if there's something that we share, and maybe we don't clarify, and in a way that helps you to understand what we're getting at, or if you just have some questions about our journey or something that you're trying to accomplish and you maybe want our feedback or opinion or our point of view on it, or if there's a topic that you'd like us to cover, we want to leave a space open on the podcast every month for your listener questions. So we ask that you just DM us before our next episode. You can catch me on either Instagram or on Facebook at Sherrita Denise. And then with Tézya, you can catch her on Instagram at Grow Live Fit, and then on Facebook at Tézya Thomas. And you can DM us, or you can email us, or you can drop a chat in our Patreon community here and just ask your questions, and then we'll read them live on the next episode.
Absolutely. Definitely include it on our YouTube comments as well as our TikTok
Yeah,
comments because we want to listen to you from everywhere that you can definitely like put in something. So yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And so that's all we have for this month's episode. What a great first episode,
I
Sherita.
think so. I think
Yeah, I
so.
think yeah. And we hope you enjoyed it as well and found it relatable.
Yeah.
and find at least one helpful thing that you can take away from our wellness journeys.
Yeah.
And so to make sure that you message us here with your feedback, again, let us know what you think and send us your questions to read them out loud on the next episode. I'm sure you want to hear one of our voices do that, uh, which will air in April. So make sure that you follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon at It's Organic Over Here. Excuse me, not It's. Let's make sure we get this
Yeah.
right. I'm still learning. At Organic Over Here. So you're gonna find us on TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon at Organic Over Here. At sign Organic Over Here. Make sure you're setting your notifications, like, share, subscribe, and help us spread the word. Send this to your favorite cousin and the cousin that get on your nerves. It's good for all of the family. All right. And until next time, we will talk to you all later. Stay blessed, happy, and keep going.
And stay well.
Stay well too.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.